What's going on, you guys? This is Ryan Mickler. I'm the host and the founder of the Order of Man podcast and movement. Welcome here. Welcome back. This is your Friday Field Notes. I'm going to be sharing some ideas and thoughts that I've been thinking about from throughout the week. If you are just joining us for the very first time, we also have an interview show where I'm interviewing incredible men. These are New York Times bestselling authors, athletes, warriors, scholars. If I can find somebody who's got an interesting story to tell and they've been successful in their life, then I want to have conversations with these guys, distill their practical wisdom and information into advice and suggestions and things that we can personally do as men to enhance our own lives and the lives of the people that we care about. Today, I want to talk with you about writing your own story, because there's a lot of guys who get trapped in the story they've written, even subconsciously in the past, or they're living out somebody else's story, like their father's story, for example, or other people that maybe even they admire or respect and look up to, that although it's good to have those kind of people, it's not your story. So we're going to talk about that. Before I do, want to mention our friends and show sponsors. And on the subject of story, I wanted to introduce you to Origin Maine. I've gotten a lot of emails and messages from people regarding some of these mandates that companies are enforcing. The one that I hear a lot from is Carhartt. Obviously, I've gotten a lot of messages about the email that they sent to all their employees that says they are going to uphold this vaccine mandate for their employees. And look, I think that we're going to see this go away very, very quickly if we stop voting for this nonsense we don't believe in with our wallets. And that means we don't do business with companies that don't believe in the same ideals that we do. And that's how we get to vote on whether or not we support things like these companies are doing. But if you're looking for a company that's rewriting the American story, that's really trying to do right and to do good and to bring back American manufacturing, then you need look no further than Origin USA. Started as a jiu-jitsu company making gis and rash guards. Now they're making denim. In fact, I've got my Delta jeans on right now. They're making boots. I've got my Lincoln boots on. What else? They're making hoodies. They've got their heavy hoodie. They've got a bunch of durable goods, leather belts, wallets. I mean, these guys are trying to branch out and everything. And then they have their supplemental lineup where they have partnered with Jocko on that. And so they've got their pre-workout, they've got their joint warfare, which I take religiously, their super krill, their protein, which is called their Mulk. Again, 100% made and sourced in America. Go check them out if you want to be part of the right story, which is controlling supply chains here in the United States, putting Americans back to work with good, quality, meaningful jobs, and then supporting companies that do this kind of work, as opposed to Carhartt and some of these others that are rewriting a story that they don't want to be writing. And we need to express our disapproval for the wrong story and our approval for the right one. Go check out originusa.com, originusa.com. If you end up buying anything, use the code ORDER, ORDER at checkout. All right, guys, let's talk about writing your own story. As I said earlier, a lot of us get trapped in the past, living out either somebody else's story or a story that we've written in our past. And so I see a lot of guys who are stuck. They're not satisfied with life. They're feeling like their life is mediocre. They're feeling like I did years ago when I thought to myself every day when I woke up, Ryan, you are meant for something more. And I just wasn't living that life. I wasn't carrying it out. And what I realized is that I had subconsciously subscribed to some scripts that weren't serving me well. It was scripts that I learned from my parents. It was scripts that I learned from culture generally. It was even scripts that I had learned from myself, that I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy and I can't be successful and luck is for everybody else. And I realized over years and years of working through some of these scripts that obviously that wasn't serving me. And that if I wanted to have the kind of life that I wanted, it all started right up here in the mind first, that I couldn't just manifest or will something into existence instantaneously, but I needed to start thinking differently about the way that I viewed life and the way that I viewed myself and interaction in life. And as I began to slowly and gradually change the scripts that I adhered to and that I operated by, my life began to change. I began to find meaning and purpose, not only in different work, but even my existing work became more meaningful and purpose driven because of the new scripts that I had written. I started to develop powerful friendships, excuse me, and a network. I started having a deeper and better and more intimate connection with the people that I was close to, my wife, my children, my friends, all because I decided that I'm going to write my own story. And I may not be completely satisfied and happy with where I am in life right now, but it can change. And that's the first thing you need to realize is that it can change. You're not destined to carry out the words on the pages that have led you from birth to the point that you are right now. You can change it and you can be the author. You are the author. Or you're going to relinquish control of that option and you're going to let somebody else write it for you, whether it serves you or not. So what I want you to do first and foremost is decide that you're going to take back the power and responsibility of writing your own life, of being the author of your own story that you're living out. And first, decide what kind of story you want this to be. You know, you may be downtrodden, you may be beat up, you may be depressed, you may feel like you're a failure or a loser. I've certainly been there. And if that's the kind of story you want, then keep playing out that script. But if you want a different story, think about what that's going to look like. And I'm not talking about this bullshit positive self-affirmation stuff where you try to convince yourself you're better than you really are. That creates internal dialogues that aren't good, conflicting dialogues that create a whole nother set of problems. But I believe that every single one of us, even in the pit of despair, where you might be right now, can start thinking about what you would actually like your life to look like. So many of you are going in default mode and you're just carrying out these scripts and they're leading you to an inevitable result. And you can't even form the connection between where you are and what you're thinking about. But I do think every single one of us, regardless of where we are right now, has the power to say, you know what, I'm going to project myself out into the future. And this is the kind of story I want to write. I want to write one of redemption. I want to write one of fulfillment and satisfaction and a deep connection to the people that I care about. I want to write a story that I am enough, that I'm doing what it takes to feel good about how I'm showing up in my own life and the lives of other people. What's the kind of story you want to write? Have you thought about that? Have you put pen to paper? When you lay your head down at night, what are you dreaming about? What are you thinking about? What are you filling into your consciousness? The more that you can do that, the more likely it is that as I talk about these next few steps, you're going to be able to write, actually tangibly write the story that you want for yourself. Next, any good story has a good set of characters. And there's a lot of character development that goes into the writing process. Who is this person? What do they want? What's their personality? What are they driven by? What are they inspired by? What are their vices? What are their challenges? Who are the other characters in the novel? What's their role in this? Are they just a passerby? Are they an active part of it? What are their motives? Think about the characters in your life. Think about you first. What kind of fully developed character do you want to be? You know, if I had to think about myself, I want to be strong. I want to be rugged. I want to be independent. I want to be capable. I want to be somebody who has not only built wealth in his life, but can share that wealth in a way that's meaningful and productive for other people, like my family and friends and employees and clients. But I also think about the kind of characters that I want in my life. I want the same kind of characters in my life. People who know how to add value, people who are willing to sacrifice in order to produce something big in their lives, people who are successful, who can turn around and help me by teaching me and leading me and inspiring me. These are the kind of characters that I want in my novel. And I've thought very deliberately and intentionally about that. And so to me, there's no wonder that I have the right kind of people in my life. And I also know who I don't want in my life. I don't want toxic people. I don't want negative people. I don't want people who use me and abuse me and manipulate me for their own personal gain. I don't want losers who aren't willing to sacrifice for what they want. I don't want a bunch of yappers. I want a bunch of people who take action and put their dreams into reality. So I know who I want and I know what I don't want. Because equally important to what you do want is you're going to need to cut some things out of your life. There's some people and there's some behaviors and there's some thoughts that are happening in your life right now that are quite literally bottlenecking your progress and your growth. Certain people are so toxic and destructive to you that you will never get ahead because they're in your life. Certain thoughts, like I'm a loser, is one of them. Man, if you're calling yourself a loser, you're never going to achieve anything big in your life because you don't feel like you deserve it. Now, you may have lost, and I'm not telling you to be ignorant to the things that you've done in the past, but write that up, chalk that up to the next point I wanted to make, which is a closed chapter. All right. Books are about chapters, in every good book, Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey, every good book, the hero, you are the hero. You should be anyways. Like, you're not a secondary character. You're the main character of your story. Has gone through trials and tribulations and challenges, but also learns to overcome that. But you would never read a book or listen to a book or watch a movie where there wasn't some sort of internal conflict and struggle. Okay, that's a crucial part of the story. So you don't need to believe that your life has to be everything's on a silver spoon and everything you touch turns to gold. Man, that's a boring story. You know what a better story is? That you, in spite of your challenges, and maybe even because of them, have become the hero of your own journey, have learned a valuable lesson from those struggles and challenges that you can now take and apply to a new chapter of your story. So we're going to close the chapter of certain elements of our story, but we're not going to completely forget it. It's not over. New pages have yet to have been written. And what we're going to do is we're going to build out this character, which is you, coming from a less than favorable background, dealing with a divorce, dealing with addiction, or being unhealthy, disease, illness, suicidal thoughts, depression. And you're going to be a stronger character. You're going to be a stronger person because you went through that. The next thing you got to think about is, what would this character do in any given moment? So you thought about what kind of story you want to write, and you're vivid about that, and you're clear about that, and you know exactly what you want it to be. You've thought about character development, what motivates you, what inspires you, what kind of character do you want to be? What other characters do you need in your life? Okay. We've addressed the chapters, that the previous versions of your life are crucial. Even the so-called negative or destructive ones are crucial to the character that you are right now. Okay. Now I want you to start thinking about what that ideal character would do in any given situation. So when you're tempted to do something that's not going to serve you and you know it isn't, like tap into one of your vices or step out on your wife or not perform the way that you should, or coast and take it easy when you should be doubling down and charging forward, or even little things in the moment, like honoring your word, doing what you said you were going to do, taking out the trash, sitting down and writing or doing a podcast or completing that assignment or making those sales calls, little things. And in the moment where you're tempted not to perform that way, I want you to think about the character that you developed for yourself, the person you wanted to be. And I want you to ask, what would that guy do? You know, what would the ideal version of Bill or George or Bob or whoever, what would the ideal version of him do in this moment? And I can tell you with 100% certainty that if you carry that out, and you think about what that guy would do, and then you do it, your life will almost change overnight, because you're going to create somebody new, which means that you're going to do different things, which means that you're going to produce a different result. What is it? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a new result. Okay, I'm telling you to do something different. The old Bill would do that, and we know where that leads. The old Bill would get shit-faced tonight and then argue with his wife and then undermine what he's trying to do as the leader of his household. That's the old George. The new George is not going to do that. He's going to put the bottle down, and he's going to be engaged with his family, and he's going to love on his wife, and he's going to ask her about her day, and he's going to share about his day, and they're going to be deeply connected. And now, because of that, you're doing new actions, new result. Now you're much more connected with her. The old Steve would go to work and just do the bare minimum to get by, just enough not to get fired, not to draw any attention to himself. He'd slack off. He'd procrastinate on the tasks and the things that he needed to get done. And we know where that leads: job dissatisfaction and potential loss of a job, which leads to financial trouble, which leads to marital problems. You get it. But the new Bill, or George, whatever I said, the Steve, I think, the new Steve is going to show up on time. He's going to close out his day so that when he comes into the office tomorrow, he knows exactly what he needs to do, and he's much more effective. The new Steve doesn't procrastinate. He sees a task in front of him and he attacks that task and he gets it done. And what that does is that leads to job satisfaction, job fulfillment, potential job advancement, even new business opportunities, new clients. And now, because of it, he's able to get his financial house in order. And because of that, he's not stressed out about making the mortgage payment. He can now take his family on vacation, or him and his wife can serve on that charitable organization, or they can donate to charity. All because the new Steve decided he's not going to procrastinate. And you do this over and over and over again. And now you have some sort of an aspirational goal of who you have the potential to become. We've all heard that adage about hell is, dying and going to heaven or wherever and meeting the person you could have been had you done what you know you needed to do. Make that happen today. And here's the last thing I would say, guys, and then we'll close it out for the day, is you need to write your story every single day. Every single day, you come to a blank page. I got my notepad right here. You come to a blank page and you get to write it. Don't let it happen by default. Don't let somebody else write it down for you. Don't live somebody else's story and somebody else's, like, you're going to be an active part in other people's story. That's fine. But don't let them write your story. You write your story. And when you mess up, and you will, just like I do every single day, you chalk it up to something that happened yesterday. You learned from it. You got better. And today you have a blank slate. But we're not just going to let it be written just by default. You are going to be assertive enough to sit down, to write out what you want, to carry out what that character would do, and begin over time, compounded daily, to build the kind of story that you want your life to look like. Guys, I know that it can be hard. I know sometimes it doesn't feel like, hey, if I do all these things, it'll work out, because the progress at times is so incrementally small that you can barely notice it, if at all. Sometimes doing the right thing doesn't yield the results immediately. If you're 50 pounds overweight, for example, and you go into the gym today and tomorrow and Wednesday, you might experience nominal results, but you're not going to look in the mirror and see the 6-pack abs. And that might be a little deflating. Don't let it be. Do what you need to do. Do what that character would do every single day, and have faith that if you compound that over and over again by writing the right words on the right pages in the right story, that you're going to create the life that you want. All right, guys, let's continue the conversation on the socials, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Ryan Mickler. Follow me there. Go check out the story The Origin crew is writing at originusa.com. Use the code ORDER at checkout if you do. Not only will it save you some money, it lets them know that you're finding them through what we're doing right here. And that would mean a lot to me. The last thing that would mean a lot to me, if you would please, just go in and leave a rating and review. We're just over 7,000 ratings and reviews. I've got some goals, not only with the reviews, but how large we want to grow this podcast and this movement this year. And when it comes to writing that story, part of what's required, one of the scripts that's required is getting the ratings and reviews. So I'd like to bump that up to 10,000. I've got a really cool giveaway I'm going to do, partnered with another organization that's writing a great story, Montana Knife Company. And we're going to do a giveaway on one of their knives for ratings and reviews. So leave that rating and review, take a screenshot, and then you're going to email it to brandy@orderofman.com. Again, 5-star rating and review, screenshot it, brandy@orderofman.com with a review on the subject line. And we're going to enter you in for one of Montana Knife Company's newest knives, which is pretty incredible. Okay. All right, you guys, that's what I've got for you today. Go out there, write your own story, and become the man you are meant to be.